What are the qualities of a good booker?
You got to be able to you got to be able to judge guys' character and understand their abilities, and you got to have respect. They got to listen to you. They got to want to do the things that you are asking them to do. They got to respect you for that. I think a little bit of Eddie was a good thing. Being a little bit scared doesn't hurt things either, because you'll bend backwards to try to get things right and make them good. You got to be darn creative. That's the thing I saw about Jerry Jarrett when I went in Tennessee. Here's this guy. He's just got all these ideas. Just some of them are just, to me, they're just mind-boggling crazy, but they work. And so, you know, I'm starting to learn that, and then I realized that you got to be open-minded, and you got to be ready to ask guys to do things and get the cooperation that it takes to do them. Yeah.
Today, we don't have bookers, as you know. We have something called writers.
Yeah.
And they write everything, Robert. They write the words that are going to come out of every talent's mouth, down to the commas and the pauses. What are the problems with that?
Well, if you're a young guy starting out in the business and you're not able to make your interview because you're nervous and you can't think of things to say, and maybe you can think of something to say, but then the booker walks up and says, I want you to talk about this guy and be a little bit mad and act this way or that way, then all of a sudden the nerves kick in and it makes it difficult for you to do it. Then maybe it's good that you can give a guy a little bit of a script, let him go back in the back, think about it a little bit. But normally I think it's probably bad, because when you're dealing with good talent, good guys, you got to get the most you can get out of them, and you want their personality, you want their sense of storyline. You don't really want to write it down and have your own thing said. You can tell them just a brief idea, you know what you're dealing with here, you know who you're working with, and after a guy's in a 5-6 week angle, working with somebody, he knows exactly, and particularly if you've ridden in the car like we were talking about, you got all those T's crossed and I's dotted and all of that. So you don't want to take this wild racehorse that you got and pull him way down and make him go slow. You want to let him go and let him run as hard as he can run. And so I think it's a bad thing. When I went in to do Colonel Parker, Dusty Rhodes was the booker in WCW. And they came and they handed me a script. And I've never had a script handed to me at that particular time. And I read it, and it was lingo that a colonel would say and stuff, but it was really not going anywhere. And Sid, I went in with Sid Vicious, and we had talked over things that I might say, and I had it pretty well together. And so I went in and talked with Dusty about it. I said, what is this? And he says, oh, baby. He said, they did, that's what we do here. He said, everybody writes everything. You read that stuff and you go out and do it. You know, I said, so I told him, I said, I don't like this. I got some other stuff. He said, well, what you got? And I gave him a sense of my interview. He said, throw that crap in the garbage. And that was it. I never read any more
I'm surprised Dusty, of all people, would hand anybody a script.
He didn't. He was
made to do that.
The guys came in that write the scripts and all stuff. Then you have to be very, very careful, because you're going to make those guys mad. Because they have, hey, did you hear what Colonel did? Threw your script in the garbage. You're going to make those guys mad, and they pay those guys to do things. And you know, I want to go in the office and WCW, and I want to see those guys and shake their hands, and I want to thank them for a good idea or something. But I got to do my own thing, and that's what they hired me for. And I want to be great in the job, and so I'm going to get my own script and do my own stuff. And when I went to work for Vince, who was the guy in there with Jeff? I was managing Jeff, and the boy that was doing the writing, gosh, he went to TNA now.
Russo? No,
Russo.
It was Russo.
Russo. And same thing. He's writing everybody's stuff. He's writing, and he's sitting over there, and right away Jeff said, "Hey, put that away." No. He said, no. Tennessee's going to say his own stuff. And Russo said, good.
Right.
Took it, put it away, I never got another script from those guys either.
Yeah,
So-
they don't do that these days. They hold you to it. How about committees? Another kind of controversial topic. Booking teams, booking committees like we saw in WCW. Does that ever work?
Well, again, I'll give you an instance of where one of the times that I worked on a committee in WCW back, I guess, 93 or going into 94, Bischoff had me come into the office. And when I went in there, it was Mike Graham, Greg Gagne, Tony Schiavone, of course, Bischoff, and there was a couple of more guys involved in the thing. And so we're doing committee booking. I had never done committee booking. Only in the car riding on a trip was the deal. So I worked with them at committee booking for 4 months. And then one day we're up there at the CNN building and we're doing our stuff, and they're saying, well, we're going to try to get out 2 o'clock so we don't hit the traffic going home and all the stuff. And here they come in with more problems and more of this and more of that, which is all BS. We're not getting anything done. Nobody's agreeing with anybody on anything. And it was my last day to work in that office that they said, looks like we're going to be here till about 7 o'clock tonight. And I said, boys, baby's got a pot roast on. I remember those boys, they still said, baby's got a pot roast on. I got up and walked out of there, and I never went back. I know Eric Bischoff, he was just, what in the world happened here? I hired the guy, gave him a bunch of money to do, and you know, they never took the money away from me. I stayed there for like 4 more years making booking money, and I never booked any more for their situation because I just said, I can't take this, because we'd get things and we'd say, maybe this is going to work, maybe this, and you'd say, you got 7 guys sitting there and 4 of them are saying, I think this is going to work. Okay, 4 against the 3 and the 7, we're going to do this. Mm-hmm. And then something would come up and they'd say, you know, we talked to this and this guy 3 days later, and he don't like this or don't like that. And I say, I don't give a dang if he likes it or he don't like it. This is what we're getting. No. He talked to Eric, and Eric said, and it's frustrating. You just sit back and say, good Lord, you know, what are we going to get done if we don't do something? Come on, guys, you know, let's start throwing some ideas that we actually do instead of just ideas that don't go anywhere.
Summer 1996, here we are in WCW, and here is Scott Hall, here is Kevin Nash. Something is clearly going to happen, and a company is about to take a turn in a different direction. Maybe we don't know how severe that turn is going to be yet, but certainly there are rumblings, and maybe this invasion is going to be a shoot. Who knows? But what are you thinking at the time? What are the WCW veterans thinking at the time while the cameras are now being trained for a lot of TV time on the incoming NWO?